Hello viewers, welcome to your favorite program, The Conversation, coming to you from TV 360 here in Lagos, Nigeria. My name is Nelson Ekujumi, and I have here with me in the studio Peter Clever Okpara, also a public affairs analyst. Peter, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yes, on today's edition of the program, we have an array of issues to discuss. And top of the agenda is the analysis of the recently short-lived End Bad Governance protests. Like we all know, when news or when rumor of that protest began to filter into the public space, a lot of Nigerians were worried that just like NSAS protest of 2020, which some of us rightly tagged a protest of insurrection and anarchy, because the NSAS protest of 2020 metamorphosed from a protest against police brutality to an attempt to unseat a democratically elected government that was elected by the Nigerian people in 2019 by those who lost political power. And they saw that protest as an avenue to creep in and, their violation of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which stipulates that a government can only be enthroned through the democratic will of Nigerians. And we have also seen that replay in the 2024 deceptive End Bad Governance protest. Because if you ask me, I as an individual, I looked at that protest and I saw, just like the Department of State Services, brought out an alert, issued an alert that that protest was with a sinister motive, and that it had foreign agenda to cause mayhem. And we all saw that mayhem in some states, most especially in the northern states. And just some hours ago, the National Council of States meeting held in Aso Rock, Abuja, where they unanimously agreed that fraud, that unpopular insurrection and an attempt to unseat a legitimate government called End Bad Governance protest was an attempted coup. Well, we are going to look at that issue dispassionately, but I stand by my position that it was not a protest about the hunger afflicting the Nigerian people, which we all agreed there's hunger in the land. It was an attempt by disgruntled elements and agents of destabilization to cash in on our economic situation for their political agenda. And I must confess that one is very happy that the Nigerian people shunned the protest. In some venues, for example, like the one in Ojota, the number of protesters were far outnumbered by even those who were hawking beverages, snacks and what have you. And on some occasions, you saw security agents even outnumber them, which shows you clearly that the protest was not in tune with the feelings of the Nigerian people, even though the people are hungry. The people have realized that, look, these elements of anarchy only want to take us for a ride, and that they will not be a party to it. Peter, we all saw all these things, and I must confess to you, after the first day where they unveiled their destabilization plot using the North, it has never happened in our political history where people go on protest and they are flying the flag of a foreign country, attacking government house. Yeah. We have never done it. We are all product of protests. Yeah, and even when our protest is disrupted.
Let me take it up from there. I can say I'm a veteran in protests. As a student leader during the Babangida and the Abacha years, I was on the street against brutal military governments.
Yes.
And one thing is that in planning a protest, there are certain ingredients that are basic. One is, what is the message? What message are you passing that will mobilize people to join you in the protest? Yes. The second thing is the organization. Who are the people behind it? I think the so-called End Bad Governance protest was a misnomer in the sense that I agree everybody agree that, see, the economic situation is affecting
All
every
our sundry.
Nigerian.
Yes.
Everybody agree to that.
Yes.
If you now capture it as a hunger thing, yes, of course, people are hungry. But then this protest was an attempt to latch on the people's hunger, so to say, to cause so many dangerous, how will I put it, damage to the Nigerian state.
It's not only, Peter, it's not only about dangerous.
Yes.
The National Council of States just said it was a coup, attempted coup.
And which is dangerous. So the whole thing there was that the people that are behind this protest, who we don't even know because they refuse to show up.
They refuse to show up.
The people that are behind this protest wanted to latch on that, to click on that and cause general damage. Okay. Let me tell you, at the back of their mind is to replay what happened in 2020, October 2020.
No, they were boasting now. They were boasting.
Now, maybe in a bigger dimension.
This will be answers too.
Then also what is happening in Kenya and Bangladesh and many other countries. They wanted it to be in such a magnitude that it will overthrow the government.
Yes,
there was no doubt about that. Yes. And because of that, they couldn't put so many things in place that are necessary for a peaceful, result-oriented protest.
Yes, absolutely.
They just say, we are hungry, because they know that when you shout it, everybody, yes, we are hungry, and you go. But you give credit to Nigerian people for not, falling for that. For
their bids.
You now see a protest where maybe in Lagos, you see 50 people gathered in Ojota out of a population of about 20 million people.
About 25 million
people. So you now know that they themselves know that from the first day that the protest had failed. Yes, at the first day, people were apprehensive. What is going to happen? What is it? So many people stayed indoors. On the second day, people shared that. And that was the end of the protest.
Yes.
Now coming to what happened in the north. What happened in the north were about politicians deliberately and systematically sponsoring the victims. And these are politicians that have been in power before, mind you. Most of these people that are mentioned or are being suspected are people that have been in power and who wasn't the lots of the people that bring about this hunger we have in the land today. They now sponsor. They brought out money. I think according to, it was Senator Shehu Sani, who said that people that they brought out money and materials like Russian flag and whatever to seduce people to go and cause wanton destruction and damage on the streets, in the name of protest, hunger protest. Politicians now brought enormous tranche of money. Yesterday, or today rather, you read a report that about $80 million. $83 million, about 83 billion naira thereabout was seized. Meant for the protest, was seized by security agents. That was tracked and seized. You don't see the enormity of what they planned to have. They planned it in such a way. Now, what really happened, what Nigeria succeeded to do is that it was like this few states, about 4 or 5 states, that where this thing was very intense. Where politicians brought a lot of money, brought their majorities on the street, we are like ostracized. You now found out that the rest of Nigeria was in peace. The rest of Nigeria didn't experience any upheaval. They didn't experience any uprising.
As plotted.
Yes, which was their intent. They didn't experience. So at the back of their mind, they are very disappointed that they didn't achieve what they wanted to achieve. And what they wanted to achieve...
again, let me even also add, Peter. Let me even also add.
Okay.
I remember reading Senator Shehu Sani say that even the organizers of the protest, after plotting and distributing materials, they left town.
Of course. And get it again, when you try to... I don't know whether you see their demands. If you see the kind of demands very bogus and unrealizable demands.
No, those demands are not demands from rational minds.
That is the thing,
regime change. 300,000 naira for
workers. Remove subsidy. Bring back subsidy. Abolish the national assembly. And so many other inanities which a decent mind knows are unrealizable.
A decent man will not even come up with such demands.
With that. Now, you cannot structure a protest that was meant to achieve results on those kind of bogus and unrealizable demands.
If it was don't forget, like I stated, the DSS alerted Nigerians that this is a plot, this is a sinister-driven protest. This is not about hunger.
It was.
The Nigerian police also brought
and an average mind reads that.
Yes.
Also, an
so
average mind who
you expect that if we say this protest is about hunger, what we should be looking at is what are those indices that has brought a... If the protesters had said government should put in place measures to end insecurity that is bedeviling our agriculture.
This is what government needs to do to curb food inflation. This is what government needs to do to boost food production. These are what government needs to
tackle unemployment.
You will now sit down and listen, and everybody will say, "Oh, yeah, you are making sense." You are there. And then what time frame is available for government to do all this?
Yes.
Well, now let us even look at it from another perspective. This is just a government that's just barely a year, and you are accusing it for causing every problem on planet Earth. It doesn't sound reasonable. You have to be very reasonable. If anything you can accuse the present Tinubu government of is not of indolency. And I can tell you that this is the most hardworking president in the history of Nigeria. And what is he doing? Trying to find solutions to issues and problems
that have existed
after
decades
a year,
ago.
You now say that end bad government. He is the person causing all the distance. Your message is wrong. And in that way, people are bound to ignore you. No matter how much you shout that the people are hungry. People know that they are hungry.
Everybody is hungry.
They will never fall to that prey of being used by disgruntled politicians, because most of the people behind this are politicians that failed the election
in 2023.
Yes, just last year.
We saw them. We saw them at the forefront of the protest.
And let me even tell you, which maybe Nigerians have forgotten, that all these presidential candidates in 2023 who are protesters today promised that they will remove subsidy. So what are you talking about? They promised that they will remove subsidy.
Peter,
what are you talking about?
Peter, it's not even about. It's not even about the promising to remove subsidy. You know, the issue of subsidy removal has been a recurring debate even since the days of the military dictatorship.
And all those.
So for me, if anybody is saying subsidy should not have been removed, I ask them what should have been done. Former President Muhammadu Buhari ran an administration of no funds, that they had to rely on borrowing.
Of course.
And we had borrowed to our limits.
Of course.
And the government, in its wisdom, even the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration for the 2023 fiscal year, made the provision for subsidy from January to May ending. From June 1st, there was no provision for subsidy.
Of course.
So when do you expect President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to assess the financial world of Nigeria and then take a bill to the National Assembly?
They know all these things, but the intent was to destabilize the government, to score the political capital they lost in 2023 in 2024 using hunger. And then we are, like we always say, if we are talking about hunger, we trace it to when the Nigerian economy had been grossly mismanaged. There was a time in the history of this country where Nigeria was earning so much money from crude oil. But nothing worked in Nigeria. Even civil servants were owed years of salaries. And no infrastructure was built in this country. If infrastructure had been built by that time, you will not see the magnitude of hunger you are seeing today in Nigeria.
Peter, let me take you back in history. Under former President Goodluck Jonathan, we sold crude oil at about $120 per barrel.
And
we sold about 2.1 million barrels per day.
Yes.
And even under that administration, in 2014, I remember in September, the then Minister for Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, came out boldly and said the federal government was borrowing to pay salaries.
Federal civil salaries. Yes.
And even under that administration of Goodluck Jonathan, with all this money we made from the sale of crude oil,
civil servants were being owed years of salary arrears.
When President Muhammadu Buhari came into office, over 23 states were owing backlog of salaries.
28 states.
We're owing backlog of salaries. And you recollect that it was
the bailout fund was
Muhammadu Buhari got. You also recollect that it was under this same former President Goodluck Jonathan that the governors had a quarrel with the federal government
Sure.
over excess crude
accounts.
accounts.
Yes, excess crude account that was depleted.
That President Goodluck Jonathan,
the foreign reserve was depleted.
Yes, was
So
just
many
depleting
people
all
were
the
depleted.
reserves.
Nothing was on the
Nothing.
Workers, contractors were owed about 3 trillion naira. Those contractors handling federal government projects all over Nigeria. We are owed about. Remember that in 2014 or thereabout, is it 2014 or 2015? Only 10 billion naira was allocated to the Ministry of Works.
Can you imagine?
So you now see it was terribly bad. I think the problem is that what most of these people want to exploit is the fact that Nigerians are inflicted by why will I short memory.
Selective amnesia.
Yes, collective amnesia we do forget easily. Something will happen now, the next moment we forget. And we try to look at whoever is there, this as the problem. And everybody is about, try to know how things got this bad. Things got this bad for many years, for many decades. And this is just like, we are trying to find a solution. It is not going to be easy. These are the processes and the distance. Although, let me even come in there, I may have issues with government and the way it is tackling some of these things. I believe that the Tinubu government should look to the fact that, see, we are we cannot be running a free market economy, so to say. You cannot run a free market economy where your supply is very, very limited. You see people that call themselves market union and association fixing prices every day. It's a very big problem, and government must find a solution to that. You cannot be staying there every day. Your role is to mark up prices. Mark up prices and all those things to curb inflation.
I think the
government must devise a way to deal with that kind of problem.
Peter,
you cannot solve an issue from the supply side only, because what is happening now is that the buyers are helpless. The sellers
they are the mercy
form associations
they are from
and
the
unions,
cartel,
and they are the only thing they do is about marking up prices, giving you one reason or the other why they should do
Peter,
so. Then the government puts an eye on that and do something about that in a bid to curb food inflation.
The FCCPC under Mr. Tunji Bello, I read in the dailies some few days ago, whereby they said the institution, that's the Federal Competition Consumer Protection Commission, that they are going to have engagements with the markets. Because of the way the marketers are
either engagement or government takes it as a policy.
Yes, the government is going to use the rule of law to address those issues. You know, it cannot be addressed by fiat. But I think before we go, because of our time, I think for this end bad governance protest, we must commend the security agencies for the wonderful work they did.
Oh yes, the security agencies, the governments at all levels, because
the level
unlike in 2022, unlike in 2020, where everybody was complacent watching them, and they kept on this. And this time around, there were proactive measures that we are taken by the security agencies, the governments, and the other
people.
And the people.
I
I recall very well a day or two before this. I made a post on social media that this, at the end of the day, this will end up as a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. I think that was how it ended.
Well, as much as we commend the security agencies for a job well done, we must not run away from the fact that the Nigerian people must also be commended for ensuring that their understanding is unquestionable.
Oh, yes, sure.
And as we go, one hopes that the government will ensure that this protest is thoroughly investigated.
Yes.
I think the reason why we had people boasting that they are going to have a repeat, that this is even going to be worse than, was because the administration failed to do what was supposed. I think every person
participators in violent protests, we are not dealt with. Let us even take a cue in what is happening in other lands.
Yes.
In Britain, you saw what happened. How the government, the new prime minister, came out openly and threatened that if you are involved in violent protests,
even by post, even by your tweets.
Sure.
I think the government, we are using this medium on the conversation to call on the Nigerian government to investigate the instigators of this protest of anarchy
The government must look very
well,
deep
the
and do
security
that.
agencies
Yes.
have their job cut out for them. We
Okay.
hope that people who have hide under the guise of exercising the right to protest, to want to unleash mayhem on Nigeria and try to topple a democratically elected government, must be made to face the music. Enough of these shenanigans in our land. People must be made to realize that for every action, there comes consequences.
Yeah.
So this is where we want to wrap it. We want to call it a wrap on this first stanza of the program. We'll go on a short break. We'll be right back. Please continue to watch the conversation coming to you from TV 360. We'll be right back.